are running with the Devils, and we're back off the bye week, talking everything Arizona State football. We got a big show for you planned here on RWD. We're back after a week off, just like the team. And as we say here on RWD, you give us 30 minutes, we'll give you the world of Arizona State football. And we got some breaking news for you coming in on the show tonight. Just broke before we recorded here tonight on Thursday. And Big John, some bad news coming out of Tempe. Looks like Sam Levitt is doubtful for the game on Saturday in Salt Lake City. A big game for the Devils, and it looks like they're going to have to try to do it without starting quarterback Sam Levitt. Oof, we're going to get into we're certainly going to get into that here coming up.
Shocking. I was at practice.
Yes.
I saw all Tuesday, and he looked good to my eye. Although he was kind of throwing little sidearmy, but he was moving around fine. He was doing his the only run. He was very comfortable in the pocket. Wasn't constant. He was not doing any extemporaneous running. So all I can think of, and according to reports, is that this injury happened before Tuesday and Wednesday. So
yeah,
I don't
it's something
know.
that I guess he's been dealing with. They've had him listed as probable before, but now he's been downgraded to doubtful. So it leads me to believe he's probably not going to play. Usually, traditionally, doubtful is 75% the player does not play. So it'll be Jeff Sims as next man up, the sixth-year senior. But we'll get into all that here when we talk about the Utah game coming up. But we got to talk about ASU's big win over TCU Saturday before last. A very big win in Tempe. The elements were, kind of rearing their ugly head a little bit before kickoff. I know we had kind of a scaled down tailgate this week, that week, but and we certainly braved the elements to be out there. But it cleared up by kickoff, and the Devils certainly showed up. It was a slow start once again. They get down 17-0, but they rallied and were able to pull the game out 27-24. Definitely a nice win against a TCU team that was certainly a powerful offense, and the defense definitely showed up there after some initial struggles. But and the offense, they did enough to win. They really struggled in the red zone. There was a couple times where some touchdowns would have certainly kind of made this game a little bit less exciting than it was. But definitely a nice win for the Devils to go to move to 2-0 in conference play.
And if you folks, if you remember the same time last year, going into the same weekend, played Utah, we were 2-2. So it's things. It's a crazy league. It's a very competitive and balanced league.
Right.
And remember, nobody finished with 0 losses last year, and I don't think in fact, there's only three now, 3 or 4 in the country. So my point is, parity and portal and all that has created a lot of parity in all of college football.
Right now there are 4 teams that are 2-0 in the conference. Only 2, BYU and Texas Tech, are undefeated on the season.
Right.
So
and the Big 12 has 2 of the 4 nationally in FBS. Yeah.
Right.
We're half of what's going on out there. So anyway, there's my man Prince Dorba. Saw him last night at the radio show. What?
Yes.
Ryan. I'm still astounded by that play. It's rare that you see a man do 3 with his right hand. He's still fighting the offensive lineman. The other hand, he knocks it out and then recovers it. He did 3 things at once.
Yes.
You're lucky to get one of them.
That was a tremendous play. Yeah, when ASU was kind of riding high after tying the game on that 4th down Levitt to Tyson touchdown pass, and then one of the next plays right after TCU got the ball back, Prince Dorba comes around the edge, strips Hoover of the ball, and is able to recover it, and ASU turned out to be the play of the game, as ASU eventually kicked the game-winning field goal and was able to kind of salt the game away by that point. So, man, it was kind of crazy. It was an exciting game. And I was a little bit nervous there when ASU got down 17-0, but it's something that they've done most of the year. They play a 4-quarter game. They certainly were able to bounce back and get the job done. And then, man, that crowd was electric. I mean,
It wasn't it.
we were
I,
a little bit concerned because of the elements.
yeah,
Some people might stay home. We were talking about, hey, it's only the real fans that are going to show up. But
yeah.
it was a full packed house.
Everybody was hanging in their cars until the last minute, I guess. And thank God, thank God everybody showed up. It really did. It gave us a competitive advantage. I really feel. And the
Right.
student,
Yeah,
we didn't have,
and we'll
and
talk about
you didn't have to give the
yeah, we'll
students
go, we'll
food. You didn't have to give them food to stick around either.
yes, and we'll talk about ASU's pass rush as well, which is, we were talking, we mentioned that at the beginning of the season as something that really needed to show up for ASU's defense to take that next step into the, upper echelon, and they've really shown up this year. I mean, on Saturday they recorded their 19th sack of the season. That's five fewer than they had all of last year. They're number one. Their pass rush is number one in the Big 12.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely great to see. And Prince Dorba is a big reason why with his three sacks against TCU. And then the bye week I think came at a good time.
It
It was
did.
good to
Yeah.
see coming off a win like that. Um, it was very physical, and you need to get some guys healthy. And yes, they will get some guys back against Utah, but some other guys will be out now. So it's kind of a weird thing coming off of a bye week and your starting quarterback is hurt. I don't know what happened there, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. But
Well,
yeah, and ASU actually without even playing a game moved up 4 spots in the AP poll.
hey, we need more buys if you're in the
Yeah.
polls. But I keep telling everybody, what are polls? We kind of punched holes in that so much so that they stopped having them in the preseason polls in our
Oh,
conference. So
the preseason,
yeah,
preseason predictions, right?
yeah. So I mean, it's just a way to sell newspapers, I guess, and get clicks. But
Well, I
no,
mean,
but
and there was a lot of parity around college football this weekend with
oh yeah,
some of the upsets that happened. I mean, who saw that UCLA Penn State game happening? I know I
nobody.
did.
They
Yeah.
say that in Vegas that was one every single possible bet and lost in that deal. Hasn't
Wow.
It was one of the biggest
Nobody
wipeouts.
picked UCLA to even cover.
No, nobody. There wasn't one way to bet that thing that they didn't.
Wow.
They say it was one of the biggest wipeouts in Vegas in a long time in
No
college football.
kidding.
Yeah,
Well, hey
yeah,
man, the house always wins, right?
yeah.
Oh man,
Eventually,
that was a crazy game. We're going to talk about the Big 12 a little bit more here in a minute. They had a couple of crazy games over the weekend with Baylor and Kansas State was a barn burner.
oh yeah.
That was a crazy game over the weekend as well. But we're going to talk about this ASU win from 2 weeks ago. Of course, we were off last week with the team, and so we definitely got to recap this big win over TCU. First time these two teams have played in 50 years. Big John, and ASU comes away with the win 3-0 all time now against TCU. And it was a game-winning field goal by Jesus Gomez that proved to be the difference. The strip sack by Dorba ultimately led to that play, and then the
Martell.
Martell Hughes interception in the final minute uh, was the nail in the coffin as ASU Salts was able to kneel on it after that to put away the victory. And yeah, again, ASU having to rally once again. They for whatever reason this team likes to start slow. They like to put themselves in a hole, but they ultimately rallied. The defense really showed up late, putting TCU away the way they did, and going on that 27-7 run. Big ups to the defense for making that happen.
Yeah, the defense. I think we all, I mean, at least I think you and I were in agreement going into coming out of camp that the defense was going to be our strong suit. And I talked in particular about how the linebacking core was probably the heart and soul of the team.
Yeah, the
And
Werewolves.
they really are. They have such a great identity, and they're playing so instinctual. And we're missing PSAU, and it's
Mm.
the production is still really high.
Yeah.
I go back to this.
Martell Hughes has stepped up. He was one of the
Dude,
guys that we've kind of both talked about as a guy to
yep,
watch. He's been a good special teams player. He's contributed, a little bit when he's gotten chances. But this year, with the injuries that they've had, he's really stepped up and made a
you,
big impact.
this is going to be his group to run next year. I mean, he's going to be an
Oh yeah.
upperclassman. they were kind of teasing him, watching film about, he's saying, "Man, we're going to be young next year," and they go, "No, you're an upperclassman next year, dude." you know. But I think
Yes.
it was one of those light bulb moments, like, yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to be
Yeah.
the man next year, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
and we knew that TCU was going to struggle in the run without their top running back. They finished with only 10 net rushing yards. I mean,
my
part of that
God,
was, the sacks that they had on Hoover. But yeah, they only allowed 10 net rushing yards was very impressive. And yeah, they did, all their touchdowns came on the ground, but they were from pretty short yardage out. The
right?
TCU, that was one of our keys to the game too before. We talked about making TCU one-dimensional,
Hmm.
and they were able to do that. They forced 3 turnovers, the 4 sacks, 13 tackles for loss. Big John,
Yep.
this defensive unit definitely came to play, and they had a tremendous game here. Especially after TCU jumped out to that lead.
Yep.
I think we were all a little bit concerned about what was going on there, but again, ASU is a team that likes to rally, especially once the second quarter kicks in. They looked like they were going to drive down and at least tie the game before that Levitt fumble right in the last minute of the half. So,
The, the,
the ASU cuts down on some of those mistakes, and hopefully they work on that their red zone offense, because that was the big issue. They got stopped on a couple fourth downs in TCU territory
right.
that really could have made the difference if they turned some of these field goals into touchdowns.
Yeah, and we'll talk a minute about how the press missed the fact that it was really windy, and
Mm.
pushed a couple of those off. And
Well, yeah,
you, you,
the
you,
missed field
you,
goals, but
you, you,
we're not gonna
you,
we don't have
we're-
to talk about that too much.
no, but what was great is that this staff picked up on film that TCU, the quarterback, didn't put the ball away. He keeps it out to the side, and they kept
Hmm.
telling Dorba and anybody else who was coming up, through all these twists they were doing, that you can get turnovers. You strip the ball, you just not put it away. And sure enough, that film study worked. But no, I'm really really happy for the defense. There's some, and they really do have the whole approach now. It's not that the sacks are being spread around. It's a unit coverage, a unit sack, or a team
Right.
sack, not an individual
Yeah.
sack. And it's really coming from all the twists, or what I used to call stunts, coming where the end loops in, comes in late behind the tackle, and creates the opportunity. So the tackle is neutralizing the first man in front of him, and there's nobody to pick up the second man coming through.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
it's and has hats off to Brian Ward, and really getting his players to be in the best position possible to have to affect the game.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. It was.
and
Yeah. That
we'll
was a
talk
big.
we'll, we'll talk about the DBs here in a minute too, because
Yeah.
I mean,
And
there's some really good performances there.
yeah. And there were guys have just stepped up consistently across the board. It's been really great to see. And as we move on here into the rest of our recap.
There it
Um,
is, TOP.
yes,
That was it.
that was one of the big keys too. We talked about keeping the ball out of TCU's hands, not letting them get into much of a rhythm. It didn't, coming out of the gate, they kind of struggled, but you know, again, 35 minutes time of possession. ASU was able to run, control the clock, run the ball very, very well, over 200 rushing yards, almost 500 yards of total offense. And you called this Sam Levitt's best game of the season, and I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, it's been getting better in all the categories, but really, it was more than just statistics to me. It was really like he had command of the team and command of the situation in terms of not. Well, he still likes to run when things. He's reading the field a little bit better, and what they did for Sam was they kind of designed some RPO runs for him on purpose to kind of get that running thing out of his system. And once they had
Right.
that going, they kind of got it calmed down, and he got into a rhythm, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
So, it's good to see Sam kind of getting back into form again. And he's admitted now, in a couple of practices now, that the Heisman hype and pressure was an issue. And I thought he wasn't paying attention
Yeah.
to it, but how can you not? It was just all pervasive, you know.
Yeah, and
So
it's tough to deal with that, especially when, he's coming off the year that he had last year. which was his first, full year as a starter at a major, in a program after transferring in from Michigan State.
Hmm.
We kind of expected there was going to be, I don't want to say um, recession, from him, but
Regression.
regression. Thank you. I lost the word there. Yeah, regression from him. But he's run a little bit more this year. He's had to improvise a little bit more because he hasn't had the cleanest pockets at times, and he's been under a little bit of pressure from in that respect. I think he has such a good rapport with Jordan Tyson. I felt like he was looking for him a little bit too
Mm.
much, but now I think now he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable with everybody else. Shimon Mateer was a big weapon for him last year, and he's starting to look for Shimon a little bit more. He
Harpole.
seems to have something good going with Eusebio. Harpole's a good check down security blanket
Yep.
for him.
So Harpole almost
You
scored.
know,
Harpole got right
yeah,
down. He almost scored, baby.
yeah,
Uh,
I know. And then he hit Jaron Hamilton for a big play too.
he
Now,
did.
if you can get on the same page with that guy,
Yeah.
this offense got a chance to be really dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's just
Yeah,
hope that whatever's going wrong with
yeah,
Sam is no more lengthy than it was last year with Cincinnati.
right. With the
Uh,
rib injury, exactly.
Yeah, but and by the way, folks, we'll know 90 minutes before the games when the final injury report has to come out. Um,
Yeah. So 6 p.m. local time,
mhm.
we'll know for sure what is going on with him and if he does in fact play against Utah. But
So
another guy certainly worth mentioning is Raleek Brown. Had himself another nice game so far over 500 yards rushing on the season for him. When coming in, we knew he was going to be a contributor in the offense, but he wasn't expected to be the starter. I think he's surpassed Kyson Brown
I
as
did.
the top running back.
I,
We all know you did, of
I
course.
did. Well, no,
You've
I
been
just
high on Raleek since last year, but
well,
um,
he's healthy and he got bigger,
yeah,
and he didn't lose any speed. I mean, you put on
he put in the work. You can certainly tell that.
absolutely, and the thing now, on the flip side of that, he is still tiptoeing to the hole and not trusting that the hole is going to be there. There, you can see it. And I'm just wondering, can you drill that out of him? Are there specific timing drills where you say hit it full blast at this 1 count, 2 count, and that 3 is going to be there?
Right.
Now, there's one way to fix that, and that is run some draws for him. Right now, the lanes start to open up.
I think he would thrive in that
There,
kind of
I
in that
really,
kind
I
of
do,
a play,
I
certainly.
do. Oh, well, if you can
Yeah.
see the lane and see where the block is, he's much better. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's just one way to break it.
Yeah. And yeah, he had a really nice game, 21 carries, 134 yards. Was also the second leading receiver on the team with nine
That's right.
receptions for 50 yards. So, he was a high school wide receiver, so we knew he was going to he was going to have an impact in the receiving game, but another nice game for him all around. Didn't get in the end zone this time, but
Nope,
I
nope.
absolutely think that will come. That he'll certainly get his scores before the season's out. So, that leads us into our players of the game, as we like to do here every week on RWD. Whenever ASU picks up a victory, we like to honor our players of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, presented by Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And for me, uh, I actually got to go with Jordan Tyson in this one. He made some tremendous catches
It is.
in this game, and if I was it came away even more impressed than I had been, if that was even possible. I mean, some of the plays that we've seen Jordan make this year have just been mind-boggling, and tremendous, and I'm running out of adjectives to describe him
Superlatives. Yeah.
because he it just continues to be a tremendous receiver. And people are asking, is he going to be the best receiver to come out of ASU of all time? And I think he needs to be in the conversation with
Yep.
Ayuk, N'Keal Harry, Derek Hagan, John Jefferson, and the list goes on.
Right.
And it was had very, very nice to see this young man have this type of season that he's had after having it end prematurely last year the way it did.
Yep.
But another nice game for him: 8 catches, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he's gotten more consistent too. He's, we kind of, we saw last year he was kind of good for like one bad play a game, and then he would bounce back. He's, there's been games this year where he hasn't, had that issue. He hasn't had that one bad play, and it's been a revelation. It really has.
And
And looking forward to continue watching him put up the numbers that he has. And then we talked about Prince Dorba. On the defensive side, another tremendous game. This is a guy who, it always seems like he's hurt, always seems like he's down for an injury at least once a game. But he really showed out in this game with those 3 sacks as well as a tackle for loss. He really controlled that edge very, very well. It was a big reason why TCU only had 10 net rushing yards and was I think Josh Hoover's still having nightmares about this kid. With the way he was coming out and dominating in the pass rush as well. So, hats off to Prince Dorba because he's battled through some injuries, he had some issues, but he stuck it out. Him and Clayton Smith have really turned into those quality bookends on that defensive line, and they're starting to see dividends with some sacks here, which we didn't always see much of last year.
I'm just going to amplify one thing on Jordan Tyson. I think the year that he's having, obviously, I mean, you could argue on the trajectory he's on that he could be the first wide receiver off the board. That's one. Two, his coach, Hines Ward, and with the way he's been able to coach him up, I think that's going to pay dividends for us in terms of recruiting and the kinds of receivers that want to come play here. I really do. It'll really start becoming snowballish, is what I'm saying, because of Hines and his ability not the X's and O's. I'm talking about his head and this maturity and his leadership and all the things that how he's acting. He's really turned into a really good teammate. He's grown up just immeasurably. So I'm really happy for him. But I think at the same time, let's remember who's coaching him up. We have the pros pro.
Hard to forget. Mr. Super Bowl MVP.
Yep. But no, I like your picks a lot. For me, I can't argue with Dorba. His strip sack to me is one of the plays of the, not just the play of the game in the conference. It's the play of the year at this point. That's a high mark in terms of what he did. But Sam has continually gotten better and better statistically. And like I said, his feet, he doesn't have his happy feet has calmed down. I thought he saw the field much better. So I had to put Sam in there as my offensive for 29 with 69% completion, 291 yards, 2 TDs, 13 carries, 62 yards, and a running TD. So good for Sam to see. Like I say, the one thing he has talked about in practice now a couple of times is the pressure of the Heisman. I just hope that this reason for not being in has nothing to do with something psychological and the pressure of all this, because he seemed to kind of deflect it. Not deflect. He met it head on in practice on Tuesday, and said, I've really changed my approach. I'm here for the guys. I'm here for my teammates. And great school, great weather, and I'm just going to. I'm just going to do my thing. So it's kind. I think he kind of knows that there is a way to. He could probably still be on the stage for the Heisman, but it's not. This is not the year he was expecting, and it kind of started out with a bad start, really.
Thus far, but I mean, it does seem like he's progressing and trending in the right direction, week in and week out, especially with all the players that all the plays that he's been making. I think adjusting to this offense without Cam Skattebo, I think was a little bit more of a learning curve than I think we all anticipated. We kind of figured it's kind of going to be a plug and play situation with what they had, and this offense has got to kind of evolve and change a little bit without Cam in it. And I think that was in a game situation. I think that's where things get a little dicey, and that's where you kind of have to learn on the fly.
Well, you can clearly see now in retrospect that Sam really needed Cam a lot more than Cam needed Sam. And what I mean by that is that we got ourselves way behind the chains an awful lot last year, and Cam kind of bailed us out, and Cam kind of bailed you out. and
Yeah.
kept things moving. So that made Sam look good, in the sense that it kept things moving. So
Right.
so that's a big adjustment. Now, are we getting better on second down to third down? That we talked about that last week, the importance of shortening that up, right? So that it was
Right.
more third and manageable. Our third down conversion got way better in this game. What's shocking to me was we had 25 first downs in this game versus
No.
15 for TCU. We had um, 9 first downs via rushing versus 2 for them. We
Yeah.
had we you know I mean, and we ran 83 plays compared to their 58. Normally, with all that statistic and with 497 yards versus 269, you'd think it'd be a lot closer than a field goal. But as you pointed out in the pre-show, those 2 big trips down and getting nothing out of in the red zone, those 2 missed field goals where you should have gotten 6 out of that, potentially 14. Now you're really
Well, yeah,
talking. So
you'd like to see some touchdowns out of those
yeah,
as
yeah. I
well. I
mean,
mean,
14 more points, folks, could have easily been tacked onto this thing
yes.
easily.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's right now, I think through game 5, that's what we're looking at. I think this team needs to, kind of tighten things up inside the red zone, and get a little bit more
well,
consistent and,
and,
punch it in instead of settling for field goals the way they
and
have.
and I want to point out one more thing, Ryan. We had 7 penalties for what was it? 50 yards.
56
50,
56 yards, I
56.
believe.
There it is. Yeah, I can't remember my
Yeah.
writing. 56. Um, which is getting better. They're not getting as many yards. We've cut them down every week. We've cut them down, but we're still at 7 penalties.
Right.
So that's to, and one Mississippi State, with all the noise, it was really hard to be able to, everything was on cadence. It was on a hard count.
You ain't kidding.
So that that statistic was an outlier. But anyway,
Yeah, right.
my point is is everything's still pointing in the right direction for Sam. Let's just hope and pray that this thing is not going to last more than this one game. But
Absolutely.
we saw what happened last year with Cincinnati when Sam came with Sims had to come in. I thought he actually they dumbed down the offense quite a bit for him.
Yeah, he didn't. I mean, yeah, he didn't play bad. It was just, with that team at that time, it was, it just wasn't it was very difficult on the road
Yeah.
in that environment to try and go out there and win. And, I think that may have actually helped the team kind of keyed them in, and help them, down the rest of the way because,
Mhm.
I don't think they lost
After
after
that,
that.
no, that was
No,
it.
up until
Okay,
the playoffs. So,
correct.
but
That's correct.
those are our players of the week presented by Valley Athletic Booster Club. And now, as we've started to do here on RWD, we take a look around the Big 12 with our Big 12 week in review. Got with ASU off, obviously our eyes turned to some of those games that going on around the country in the conference, and big one in Cincy with the Bearcats upsetting previously number 14 Iowa State. Was certainly a big storyline over the weekend. And hey, Texas Tech, they continue to roll, taking out the Houston Cougars as well. And then that Baylor Kansas State game was an
Yeah,
absolute classic. The way that the Bears rallied back from, I think it was like 17 points down.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
late, and ultimately ended up winning 35-34. Um, and yeah, it was a big weekend for the conference to be sure. And now,
Houston came back to earth, huh?
well, yeah, and they were undefeated going into that game against Texas Tech, and you had to think they had a lot of confidence going in, thinking that, with upset on their minds. Um, and I mean, Texas Tech definitely handled them, and
Mhm.
Texas Tech's up to number 9 in the nation now. And they look, I mean, we joked about, them buying they ever had the best roster money could buy.
Mhm.
It's paying
It's
off for them.
it's real. Yeah,
They're
it's real.
playing, yeah, they're playing like the rich team on the block, and
Well,
because
to my eye, they are physical and they execute beautifully.
Yes.
and that's a great combination, folks.
Yeah,
Gonna
that's
win a lot
tough
of
to
games.
beat too.
It is, yeah, very tough.
Yeah.
So
So that's
Baylor, they snap back. That's good. And, I mean, that
yeah.
makes our win look better, obviously.
Yes. And that was one thing I think that they've, really, Baylor certainly looked like a good team when we played them.
Mhm.
Um, that was not a bad team by any stretch.
No, no.
And then you look at what they did, in this game, getting down to Baylor in Waco, or no,
Yep.
sorry, getting down to Kansas State, excuse me. Baylor was in Waco at home, and for them to rally the way they did was really tremendous. Um, and man, that was an exciting game. And then yeah, I actually watched Iowa State Cincinnati, and man,
I,
that was a crazy environment up there in Cincy. I mean,
it
they
is.
definitely got after it.
Yep. Iowa State just appears to be kind of like the old school Big 12 football to me still. You know what I mean? They're kind of big and ponderous with their
Mm.
feet. You know, it's
Yeah, uh, yeah, but they don't have. I mean, their top running back Chase Hansen was out for this game, and
right.
I think they did ultimately miss him quite a bit. Rocco Becht had a
He
really
did.
good
Right.
game throwing the ball. It's just Cincinnati's offense was, you know, was clicking on all cylinders with Sorsby,
Swirsky, yeah.
their quarterback. Just they were hitting big plays in that game, and they ultimately ended up winning 38-30. So yeah, they just put up a ton of points, and then we mentioned Texas Tech beating Houston 35-11 in Houston. Um, and I think Colorado is kind of an interesting story right now with
Yeah, with their
with
coach out.
where they're at.
Yeah.
Towards the bottom now, 0-3 in the conference and 2-4 on the season. Um, is Dion a casualty of Black Monday at the end of the season?
Uh,
Perhaps.
Mike, I've got that game kind of circled as when I want to watch this
Would
weekend because I want to see if they're how well the team rallies without their coach. He's not going to be there. Yeah,
Dion's not?
he's not going to be at this. He won't be in the game. He won't be at the game. He's already announced. He has blood. He's going to be in surgery. He's having
Oh,
blood clots, and he
okay.
was really suffering during that game last Saturday. Couldn't really walk well, but not, they're going to take they're doing a phlebotomy type thing where they're taking out all the clots in his legs, and that's not
Wow. All
it's not
right.
this is not just a simple thing. He's going into the knife. So we'll see what
Okay.
happens.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was
And hey, they gotta go to Ames to play Iowa State. So
yes.
that's gonna be an interesting game. Um, you got TCU Kansas State will be very interesting. Texas Tech, Kansas, um, BYU Arizona in Tucson.
That's the game.
Should be very, very interesting.
That's going to tell us
Definitely
really.
hoping the rats come down to earth a little bit. I mean, yeah, they beat up on Oklahoma State, which is like, you know, sick in a pit bull on a kitten,
Yeah, I mean,
pretty much.
I haven't. Have you seen the line? Is it like 7?
I
It
have not. I would guess it's probably about a touchdown, about 7.5.
yeah.
And I think because I think BYU is certainly 10 points better
I can look it up real
than
quick. Yeah.
U of A at this point. I just U of A's kind of been the beneficiary of a cupcake schedule other than Iowa State. They haven't really
Yeah.
played anybody.
Right.
Um, their non-conference schedule was a joke. Um, you talk about, and we're going to talk about Utah here in a minute. They had a weak non-conference schedule. It's just, it's crazy what some of these cupcakes that these teams schedule. I mean, granted, you can't control who you play. You schedule
Hmm.
these games years in advance, of course, and you don't really know what the product's going to be by the time you see them, of course. But man, yeah,
Yeah.
just looking at Utah here as
Oh,
we start talking about them.
just
Sorry.
FYI, BYU is only favored by 1 point, a point and a half at U of A. It's one
Take
point.
take the Cougars.
Take the coup. It's
Take the Cougars.
the
Believe
over.
me.
The over under seems
Yeah.
like over under is 47 and a half. So that,
Well, I mean that there's certainly a chance for a lot of points in that game. I'm
yeah.
not debating that. I just don't think U of A can stick with them for 4 quarters. Frankly, the Bachmeier's been a revelation for them.
Hmm.
Him and his linebacker number, um, and I just don't see U of A sticking with them for 4 quarters. Not a chance. I mean, it might be a close game by halftime,
Hmm.
but second half, expect the Cougars to turn it on,
That's
much like they did last year when they played,
right.
and
Well,
to
that's another.
run U of A out of their own building.
BYU is much like Texas Tech in so far as they execute really well. I mean, they're I watch their play calling and the way everybody just has an assignment and they execute it beautifully.
Oh, Sataki's a great coach.
Yeah,
He is a tremendous coach, and the
tactician.
way that
Yeah.
he puts consistent. We thought they were going to be when Retzlaff left. We thought they were dead in the water.
Mhm.
Them and Texas Tech are 1-2 right now at top of the conferences. They're both undefeated. BYU's ranked this week,
Right.
so yeah, they've been, I think, the surprise of the conference. Certainly, I mean, if, everybody talks about Houston. BYU is definitely a big surprise with what
Yeah.
losing your starting quarterback and then coming out and playing the way they have. Has been incredible. Um, I'm very interested to see what they look like, you know, coming up here because they do have some tough games. They got the Holy War coming up here week 8. That'll be an interesting game. Uh, I think they got Iowa State in Ames. That's certainly no easy game. And then after a bye, they got to go to Texas Tech.
Wow.
So you think we got a rough gauntlet? Look at what BYU has coming up.
Wow.
So yeah, they're going to be ones to watch certainly coming up.
I I'm
So
yeah, I some good games coming up. And
I'm
this
looking
one was
forward to it.
circled. This one was definitely circled for a couple of reasons, don't you think? Ron? I mean, to me, what we did to them 2 years ago, 55-3,
No,
and
what
then
they did to
or
us, you mean?
what they did to us 52 years ago, and then how we came back last year and really took that
Yes.
made that quarterback look, the ninth year quarterback look silly. Um,
Yes, basically ended his career.
it did.
Um, yeah, and I mean he probably shouldn't have come back anyway. He looked just like a lame duck out there.
Well,
Um,
we got to him on the second play. We kind of wrapped
yeah.
that and kind of twisted on him and laid him down. It wasn't
Hmm.
dirty. It was
It was
just part of the
over.
game. It was over at that point because
Yep.
the
And
bad
then
wheel
yeah,
the bad wheel went completely flat.
and then national audiences got to look at their first look at Cam Scatterbo because that was a Friday night game.
Yeah.
It was on ESPN or Fox Sports, I don't remember which, but
It,
um,
the only
yeah,
game
it was nationally televised, and those 2 touchdown runs that he had against them,
hand
breaking
on the
those
ground.
tackles, that contact balance of his. Oof, they got a good long look at Cam Scatterbo for the
Yeah.
first time, and
Yeah.
man, he was fun to watch in that game. Especially after and then the fans rushing the field
Twice.
uh,
Twice
for the blackout. No, no, no,
we
that
were
was the BYU game. That was the BYU game.
I thought we were talking about BYU. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's right. I'm
Utah,
sorry.
Utah last
Utah.
year
Yeah. Utah was
on a Friday night, and
was the
then
first.
that was the game that Kenny Dillingham kind of jumped into the crowd during
I'm one of
his
these guys. I'm one of them.
during his post game interview.
I
I'm
was one.
I'm one of these guys. Oh man, that was great. That was really a great moment, especially
Okay.
because Utah has kind of had our number the
Yeah.
last few years.
Well,
I mean,
their winning percentage at home at night up there, 89, 86 or 87% is crazy. It's almost
wow,
90 almost 90%. Uh,
and that is crazy.
it is.
And yeah, they kind of felt they haven't cracked the top 25 yet. Big reason why has been their strength of schedule. They really other than Texas Tech, they haven't really played anybody. They were they were as high as like 14th, I believe, when before they played Texas, or 16th, excuse me, when they played
Right.
Texas Tech. But they fell out of the rankings before beating West Virginia last week. But yeah, they still sit at 4-1, still one of the strongest teams in the conference, bar none. And a big reason why has been their head coach Kyle Whittingham, who's been an institution in Salt Lake City. I mean, the guy is in his 21st season as the head coach. You look at his record. certainly, he's been tremendous. Last year was kind of such a, outlier as far as what fans have come to expect with that program. And this is his 30, he's been there for 32 years as both the head coach and an assistant.
And
Not
played
bad,
there,
not bad for a guy who played at BYU, by the way.
and add 4 more years for being a player there. You know,
Yes. No, 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 no. He played at BYU, I
I'm so
believe.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
in the
Yeah, he
state of Utah.
played at BYU, then was a grad assistant at BYU
That's
after
right.
he got done he got done playing. He did play in the NFL for a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, the 5 wins last year, the fewest since 2013 in a non-COVID
Wow.
year,
Wow.
was a big disappointment for them. And they had a lot of seniors on their team. They had Queethy, the really good tight end, Micah
Very good.
Bernard, Cam Rising. They were kind of counting on him. He ultimately didn't. But they had to go back and restock, reload in order to be competitive in this conference, and they certainly did that. And they went east to New Mexico to do that, and they really raided the Lobos team, to say the least.
Yeah, it was quite a
Yeah,
haul.
and but we'll talk about that here in a second. But I do want to just mention a couple of things. The Sun Devils still lead the overall series, and a lot of that was from when these teams were still in the WAC. But ASU has not won in Salt Lake City since 2017, which was a day game. And that J.J. Wilson pick six still lives
Yep.
rent free in my head. That was such a great game. I remember watching that game at your house, John. Actually,
And I seem to remember there was either a goal line stand or a fourth down where we stopped them on fourth down that really helped save that game too.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that's
there was a
right.
great defensive
But
stand
and
in
then
that
their
game.
last game, Kenny Dillingham's first year, ASU was still kind of finding itself, going through, taking their lumps uh, in the Pac-12.
Right.
They lost 55-3, which was such an embarrassment, and then they bounce back and win uh, 28-20, I believe was the final last year.
No, 29
When
last year,
20,
29,
27-19.
27-19
Yes,
on the
okay.
exact 1 year to the date. Look at that.
Yes, very
Yes, I
nice.
thought that I pulled that out of the stats today. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and the only reason I bring it up
and
is because it's at the same point in the schedule, you see.
yes,
So anyway,
yes.
uh,
Yeah, this is again, this is the third non-conference game once again, as it was last year. That is true. But yeah, and Utah has certainly bounced back this year. They're 1 win away from tying their total from last year. But suddenly this game has taken on a different turn with the news that broke right before we started recording. Looks like Sam Levitt is going to miss this game. He was downgraded to doubtful with an unspecified injury. We're still kind of trying to fish for some details on what happened exactly, because he did practice fully Tuesday and Wednesday. So this is kind of a bit of a shock.
something's up.
And
I
yeah,
have texted all the beat writers, and no one. Normally they get back to me pretty quick because we share information.
mm,
No one's getting back. I think they're all scrambling right now.
mm, yeah.
They're
So
all,
maybe, I mean, ASU's, I guess, keep a tight lid on
yeah.
what's going on.
Well, I mean, I could write.
So
I don't want to do it, but I have Sam's family in my phone, and I'm not gonna. I'm not. Not. I'm
yeah,
not
we
gonna.
don't we
I'm
don't
not.
need to go there.
I don't need it.
But if Sam Levitt cannot go, it will be sixth-year senior Jeff Sims, who is the backup, who is slated to start. Certainly not the passer that Sam Levitt is, but a very good runner. They'll certainly change the game plan. You and I both kind of agree that
Mm,
that the offensive staff will be burning the midnight oil,
yep.
trying to scramble a little bit here
Well,
late
RP.
to try and
Yeah.
figure out a different game plan against a Utah team that's very talented up front.
Oh yeah. Well, their offensive line. We'll get into their personnel in a minute, but they're very stout. They always are stout on the defensive across the
Right.
defensive
Yeah,
front.
that's been their hallmark, is they are very good on both sides of the ball. They
Hmm.
control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Um, And so, yeah, this is going to be a big test for them, especially if Sam Levitt is unable to go. We'll definitely keep an eye on this as it develops. But yeah, it looks like Sam Levitt is going to be doubtful for Saturday with an
And,
unspecified
and
injury.
and the one thing we are picking up amongst the beat writers is that if this injury did not happen on Tuesday, today, or even Wednesday. I saw practice Tuesday and he was fine. He looked fine. And the word that is going around is that this is something that took place before that.
Yeah.
Don't know what that means exactly, but
Yeah.
we'll know more about it
And
by game time.
and he's been probable for a couple weeks, but
Yeah.
it's really hasn't been a one of those things where he's like hobbling around or anything where he's obviously favoring something. So, but whatever it is, it's serious enough to keep him out. And Sam Levitt, he is a competitor, so
Hmm.
we'll see what happens. But
Well, and I can
um,
tell you this: the reason why Moss was out was they had to isolate him because he had pink eye and they didn't want to get everybody sick. So,
oh
um,
geez,
yeah, and so that was not well. First, he had turf toe, and then it was one thing after the other. And he went to pink
yeah,
eye.
right,
But what I'm trying to say is that this cannot have anything. They isolated him completely, so it can't be that unless
mm,
unless this was Sam got it too. I don't know.
all right.
But we'll find out. But we're folks. It's I have enough faith in the coaching staff that they will adjust and make the best of this. A lot of RPOs. Sims has a great pair of legs, and I will tell you that this year compared to last year at the same time, he is getting the ball out faster. That's the one thing I tell you through camp that was a plus for him, is that he had improved in that sense. He was reading much better and understanding where the coverage was and who the keys were to take. Usually a good quarterback can usually read one, like Trenton could read one guy and know exactly what's going on with the other 10.
Right.
So maybe there's been some coaching there that helped him.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, I mean, yeah. As long as he does not trying to force the ball into double coverage. Interceptions have certainly been an issue with him. But we'll see how he plays on Saturday if in fact he is the starter, which it looks like is going to be the case. But just talking about Utah and their offense, we talked about them raiding New Mexico to get some of their top players from this year. They also rated the coaching staff. Jason Beck is a former New York offensive coordinator in his first season in Salt Lake City, and he's done a good job this year. With they're averaging about almost 40 points a game. Their hallmark's always been a strong rush offense. They're averaging over 240 yards on the ground, and they looked to Arizona to the state to do that to make that happen for them. They tagged Devin Dampier, who was at New Mexico, was their starter, went to high school locally here in Scottsdale Saguaro, to be the guy, and he's been very good. He's been very very good this year. 73% completion, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns through the air, only 3 interceptions, and he is a bona fide dual threat. 55 carries, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He can beat you a lot of different ways, and we saw him, in a couple championship games here, Big John, and he's a good player, certainly.
I always felt he was the best runner I had seen in a long time at in the 5A 6A category, the open. But he was, and you ask everybody, he as a freshman and sophomore, his lower body he was built like a man. He was so
Mm,
difficult to bring. He ran through tackles. It took second and second and third guys had to bring him down. He was really tough. But and to my eye, I always thought he was going to be a running back at the next level. But he was the best passer that they had,
yeah,
and so he was developed as a dual threat, and it's paid dividends for them. You have the advantage of having our tight ends coach Mons having coached him for 4 years to give a little bit
there
of
you go.
insight. And all he says he's good at everything, and also you also have Iguano who coached against him at Chandler. Uh,
Right, that's
and
true.
so they've been a lot of eyes on him.
Right.
But we'll talk about how to beat him, and it's pretty simple. Everybody wants to take away his legs. Been the game plan, right? But he manages in this triple option to find ways to get the ball and to run. So this is a real triple option, folks. This is just like what you would see a Navy or an Army run in the past, although Navy has now abandoned it. They're much more West Coast. But no, it's
Oh,
a, but it's yeah, it's exciting
uh,
player. He's going to be, we've talked a little bit about this in the pregame. If you can, I, sacks are one thing. Just containing him from the on the edges and forcing him into a small pocket is your best bet for making him, because he threw 12 interceptions at New Mexico. He's he's already got 3 this year.
yeah.
So that's 15 in two less than 2 years. There's a way to beat him with your defense. We're going to have to have the best defense and try to get the ball away from him too.
Right.
We give
Yeah,
him
that's I think that's certainly got to be the game plan. I mean, Utah is very disciplined. They're going to put the ball away. They're not going to put the ball on the ground or put it in bad situations. They don't turn the ball over a lot. They're not going to beat themselves with penalties. They don't beat themselves. And that you got to go out there and take care of business because that Utah is certainly going to. That's kind of always been their hallmark. And as we get into their skill position players, they lost quite a few from last year, and then they kind of raided the transfer portal to kind of reload. And their running backs have been very good this year. Wayshawn Parker has kind of been the bell cow. 42 carries, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a good receiver as well with a couple scores through the air, the Wazoo transfer. And then Naquari Rogers, another uh, New Mexico product, 59 carries. He's kind of the scat back, 250 yards, 4 touchdowns. So they'll split carries a little bit between them. Um, Parker has the better average, but running behind this offensive line, which we'll talk about in a second, um, just about any running back worth their salt can have success. And their passing game has not been great this year.
right.
They don't really have, like a Cortland Sutton type player, but Ryan Davis, who's another New Mexico guy, has come over and become Dampier's favorite target. I mean, they were, certainly familiar with each other in New Mexico, and he's been their leading receiver this year with 36 receptions for 348 yards and 2 touchdowns. And no other true wide receiver has more than 6 catches besides Ryan Davis. So they've been spreading the ball out and they've been lining defensive players up at receiver. And they have, Smith Snowden has been an impact player. He's a corner who also plays offense. They got their own Travis Hunter, so to speak. But he's got a touchdown on the ground this year. He's also got 13 catches. So he's a guy that when he's out there, he is an athlete. You get the ball in his hands, he can certainly make plays as he's done this year. And they've also lined up Lander Barton, the linebacker. He's got 4 catches on the year. Jackson Benny, the safety, he's got 3 catches on the year. So they're looking for guys who can make plays, all over their roster. And but another feature of that's always been counted on with Utah has been their tight ends. They've always had really good
Yep.
tight ends.
Yep.
Dalton Kincaid certainly comes to mind. He's playing for the Buffalo Bills now. Brant Kuithe was another guy for several years. Was
Oh,
very good for them as well.
even in the loss last year, he had a great game, I thought.
Yeah, he did have a very good game. And they were kind of counting on Hunter Andrews to kind of be that next great tight end, and it looked like he was going to be early in the year. He got 10 catches for 65 yards on the season. He also had a bunch of 13 carries for 113 yards and a rushing touchdown on the season. But it looks like he's going to be out for the year with an injury. And then so now they've got Dallin Bentley and J.J. Buchanan stepping up, and they'll get these guys involved in the offense. They both have two touchdowns apiece, and certainly in the red zone, I think is where you're going to look for these tight ends in this offense to make an impact, and that's certainly been the case this year.
The yeah, the tight end position has been so integral to their success for years, and to
Mm-hmm.
have it sort of drop off, but they've revamped revamp the offense with Dampier in this triple option. Um, I'm just going through some more stats here, things that jump out to me. But yeah, really really good offensive line. These two guys right here are
Yeah.
studs, and so what do you and what we haven't really talked about is they're going to throw a lot of different looks. They have more looks to this offense than anybody we've seen today, and probably arguably one of the most complicated looking offenses with a lot of motion, a lot of or pre-snap motion, moving guys. The gaps change everything. And the only Kenny actually said it early in the year. You cannot prepare for all that. All you can
Mm,
really do is be gap sound. Stay
right.
home. And in the triple option, if you've ever seen how teams beat triple options, it's by everybody having a lane and an assignment, and you stay home. And you don't over pursue. You don't get out of that lane. Otherwise, they're going to kill you. It's a great offense scheme. But if you stay home, you can beat it. So um,
Yeah, and it's not a, I mean, it's not a true triple option because they throw the ball a lot more
yeah,
than that. I think they just use the triple option kind of features. Um, so at times it says a different wrinkle in the offense. But yeah, they do have a very strong offensive line. Another, feature of Utah they've always been counted on
hmm
to have. And Spencer Fano looks like he's going to be one of the first offensive linemen off the
right.
board this spring.
He's a
Caleb
senior, right?
Lomu is a redshirt sophomore, so I don't
Underclassman.
know if
Yeah.
he'll. I don't know, we're not sure if he'll come out this year, but he is one of the best guards in the nation. A local product out of Gilbert Highland, and man, these guys together are man, they're just unbelievable. They're certainly
Well,
one of the best tandems uh, in college football right
so
now.
folks, that very first series that they have the ball, you want to really see who's beating who. We always talk about controlling the line of scrimmage. What we mean is look for these players, look who's lining up on them, and see, is it how are they playing? Are they playing straight up, off to one side or the other? What the technique is, and who's beating who's more physical than who. That's going to be the big. We're going to know it within the first two series. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, that's just one of that's one of the neat things about football is seeing those battles up front. Anyway, um,
Absolutely.
let's go.
But moving on to Utah's defense, um, they've only allowed 15 points a game on average, only 300 yards total offense allowed. Morgan Scaley, I mean, he's Whittingham's guy. He's been there for a decade now. Certainly, they've always had strong defenses in Salt Lake City. Um, but part of
Yes,
that is they have not really played anybody. I
true.
mean,
Right.
other than Texas Tech in the Big 12 opener a couple weeks ago, they have not they did not play anybody in non-conference. They played UCLA, Cal Poly, and Wyoming, and
hmm
then they had the 2 weeks ago they had West Virginia in Morgantown. West Virginia is kind of one of the weaker teams in the conference,
Right.
so they you consider take it with a grain of salt, as far as the points per game and the yards, their stats, you know. And granted, they're not even going to be. They may not even be tested this week. We don't know, what ASU's offense is going to look like without Sam Levitt. So,
Well, you know that one of these linebackers was going to be spying Sam, right? So now what do they do?
in all likelihood,
Yeah. So they've got to make adjustments too. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
fair enough. And that's they got it's not a Utah defense without a Barton relative.
Yeah.
Playing linebacker. And Lander Barton's had a good year this year, 23 tackles and a fumble recovery to go along with a half sack. Jonathan Hall is very good, very athletic a linebacker with he's got an interception on the season along with two pass defense and he leads the team with 26 tackles. So, definitely a good group of linebackers. Something else that Utah, they always just seem to look for a certain type of player, and
Right.
they plug them into this scheme, and they have success. It's kind of the formula that they've had success with since Kyle Whittingham got there, basically. Um, and then moving on, their big pass rushers, John Henry Daly, at D end, 6.5 sacks on the season, along with two forced fumbles. He is a force around the edge, so you definitely need to bring your A game against him. He is one of the better pass rushers in this conference, absolutely. And then I talked about Jackson Benny on on playing offense. He's a ball hawk out there. He's got 3 interceptions so far this year to go along with 20 tackles. Um, he's a very, very good player, very, very athletic. And yeah, another safety, Nate Ritchie. They'll bring him into the box. He's a tackling machine with 25 on the season. And then, we talked about Smith Snowden, another great athlete. He's a shutdown corner. He's got 3 pass defense on the year. They, teams will kind of stay away from his side for the most part, and that's why he doesn't have, the best numbers. It's kind of like with Keith Abney this year. He doesn't really rack up the numbers, but that's just because teams aren't really going to his side
They run away.
too much, and that's kind of the case with Smith Snowden. He's certainly their best corner this year, and you know, this defense has been one of the better ones in college football year in and year out.
Yep.
And yeah, they got some players this year too. Again, they have not been tested. They, had that rough game against Texas Tech where they gave up 34 points. I believe they gave up those 3 touchdowns to the backup quarterback in the fourth quarter.
Backup. Yeah, that was remarkable.
Yeah, Campbell.
And that kid was throwing he was throwing dimes,
Yeah,
man. He was throwing
I know,
dimes.
right? Yeah, I know that was a crazy game there 2 weeks ago. But yeah, that was really the only test that Utah's had so far this year. I think that's why they're not ranked, despite being 4-1. They haven't really been tested all that much, so this is going to be an interesting game to watch for that reason. I don't know if they've played a team quite like ASU who can stick with them in the trenches, who has some players up front that can challenge them. So, and that leads us into our keys to the game presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a great nonprofit that builds beds for families in need. Please support Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And for me, this kind of changed a little bit. My initial thought was, we need some red zone results. We need to finish when we get inside the 25 with touchdowns, not field goals, especially when you're facing some of these teams that you have coming up the next few weeks in Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, Iowa State. They've got to show up when they get down in the red zone and finish these drives with 6 and not 3. And now, Sam, it's going to fall even more on the running the ball, controlling the clock, and playing the field position game. It's supposed to rain there as well, so the elements could certainly play a part in this game. So ASU is definitely going to need to hang on to the ball and play the field position game. I think at times you may not go for it on 4th down as much as you would maybe if Sam was playing in certain situations.
Ryan, with a deep running back room we have, you got to think this is not the end of the world.
It's a setback, but I think ASU can still be competitive.
Well, I'm
certainly.
I think we have 1,100 plays in our playbook too. We have a lot of derivation of about 70. Well, we ran almost 70 plays last week. 60. Yeah. My point is, there's all kinds of variation on stuff too. But with the deep running back room, I think you're going to see everybody get a lot of touches, but fortunately, you're going to be able to give them the rhythm that they need to really get going. All 3 of our running backs need time to get into rhythm. That's clear. The game is really going to be won by Arroyo figuring out the right playbook if they're to win, by the defense winning the day, stopping the run and stopping Dampier.
Yes.
But two, having the right way to use this deep running back room we have, including Sims. Sims is a running back too. So
they're definitely going to need him to use his legs more than his arm to have success. So
and for him, it will be a called play, not like Sam runs it, where it's if it breaks down, he can go do what he wants. Sims is not like that in practice. They're all RPOs. They're run pass option for him. So so in some ways it'll be a little less chaotic. And I mean, I know a lot of people complain about their heart rate during these games. It's going nuts with the way we play. And maybe I think maybe it's a little more manageable this week.
Well, and that's playing close games, I think, prepares you for when you play a tough team like this, especially on the road. in
Yeah.
a hostile environment. You can, you've dealt with, you've dealt with hostile crowds, you've dealt with the elements a little bit. You
Cowbells.
can go, yeah, you can go out there and not let it bother you. I think hopefully that'll be the case on Saturday. And then for the defense, you shall not pass. Control that line of scrimmage, put pressure on Dampier, make that pocket small. He's kind of a smaller guy.
He is.
Honestly, I don't even think he's 6 foot.
No,
Um,
no, no.
and yeah, just kind of keep him contained. Try to force some mistakes. Don't let him beat you with his legs. Just try to make him as much of a non-factor as possible, and I think you'll have success on defense especially with the way that the ASU's run D has had success this year.
Yeah, we would that. So it's there's a lot of cool matchups. Great run D against a great running quarterback.
Yeah,
There's a lot of really intriguing parts of this game. Our physicality, their physicality, it really intrigues me. So
yeah,
I, I
and Kenny Dillingham pointed to Utah as a blueprint for what he wanted his program to be.
oh,
Perennial success year in and year out, and that's it starts with beating teams like that
mhm.
as well.
Well, the fact that they're able to reload every year, not rebuild,
Yeah.
that's your biggest compliment to them. And
Oh yeah.
they've been able to weather, two conference changes, in the last 10 years, and to have figured out how to play in the modern style football with NIL and the portal. I mean, it's rare that you see coaches be around that long and who can change their spots. That's my
Yeah.
point. So
Very true.
we've got to get out to a great start. And the only way to neutralize that big home field advantage they have is shut them up, score first. We will script the first 10 plus or more plays, which is what at this point any good team should be doing that. But I think what I mean by scripting, folks, is there's no huddle, not even signs. They're just going, and it will be very pace oriented, a lot of pace. That's what they're doing in at least the first 10 or more plays. Now, without Sam, they're going to have to rely on the three running backs and RPOs for Sims. Tyson's going to have you're going to have to use Tyson kind of like a running back too. You're going to see a lot of him. You use him as jet sweeps,
Yep.
coming around from one far position, coming around just as the ball's being snapped, getting the ball like he's a runner, with a head of steam. Okay, it's very effective. But you've got to be gap sound, and you've got to take care of that. You've got to exploit that's less than sterling secondary that they've had in years past. You've got to dominate in the trenches, pressure Dampier just like you're saying. Make a small pocket. The more time he gets, the higher completion percentage he has. So, and this is something that really is playing in our favor. Team containment, team sacks. Don't worry about who's going to get the sack. Let the team go after and get the sack here. Uh, so, and
Well, yeah,
this
if you
was
can collapse that pocket and everybody kind of meet at the quarterback,
right.
that I think that they would certainly take that.
Now, this was a point I wrote before we learned about Sam, where I said establish a running game to set up play action. I'm not counting on that anymore
Mm,
with Sims. I think it's going to be a limited, a dumbed down playbook. But
right.
you still against a team, so you want to run the ball, stop the run, win the turnover battle, and win the third down battle. We're getting better on third down. We're starting to make it a little more manageable over the last few weeks, but you want to win these two battles here as part of the keys to this thing. So
Yeah, if you get
that
to third down, try to make it as third and short as possible.
that's right, and
I
that's
think
really
is going to be the
and
key.
that's predicated on good second down play calling.
Yeah,
So so
very true.
this is we just started this year just kind of on a lark because it was the first time the conference started doing it. We thought it was interesting, but now this turns into the story of the game, right? And before we've always had three categories. There actually are four categories.
Yes.
Doubtful is the fourth category. Doubtful means you're about 70% not playing. Now, I'm getting all kinds of texts from people speculating that we're playing games here. Let me put it this way:
Mm,
you can't do that very
no.
long and be looked upon with any credibility. You're going to be you're
Right.
going to be looked down upon not only just in the conference but in the football world if you play those kind of games. I'm just telling you. So for me, Fiaseo is a big loss being out, folks. But
Hmm.
We do have depth. Obviously, we know X has been out for a little while now. We lost Albert Smith the other end quite a while ago. One new one,
Yeah.
Cam Dyer, the one of the back, really the third string quarterback, he's down. And he
Yeah, but he had an ACL his last year of high school football,
right,
so he's been down most of the year.
right.
It's rough to see Zach Swanson back on the injury list
Yeah, it
after,
is.
he came back for a
Achilles.
while,
Yeah,
and now he's back out again.
yeah,
That's hard. That's really rough to see.
right.
Montana Warren has actually been moved to probable now as
Yeah.
well, so we'll hopefully see him. But yeah, with VSAU down, probably see more of Martell Hughes, which is not a bad thing. He certainly stepped up and played very, very well
And but
this year
this
as
questionable doesn't
well.
mean you're out. This just means that you're in
No,
question.
it's kind of it's 50-50
Yeah,
that you play. So
Kyson was taking reps on Tuesday. He actually looked pretty good. Um, so yeah, but obviously losing Sam, you're losing a lot of offense, and a lot of
yeah,
firepower out there. A lot of the playbook is gone. Um, but and over here you'll see players like you'll see Dorba, you'll see Gomez, you'll see folks. You may see um, one of the changes that was being and we've been talking about it all year. The idea of sliding Helton into center and letting Ben Coleman slide back over to his natural position, which is guard. In this case, maybe left guard. If you're going to try to run the ball as much as we are, it may be something we see more of in this game, because it is a lot. There's a lot to do as a center, not just move the ball to the quarterback, but also get your feet right, your spreads right, and get your hands right. That's the biggest thing.
yeah,
Uh,
and make the pre-snap calls
Pre-snap call. That's a big.
as well.
That's the fourth thing they got. There's a lot of stuff
Mm.
they got to do, um, but don't be
Yeah,
surprised
so
if
so
Coleman
having
slides.
having a natural center at that position, I think, could certainly benefit you.
Hmm.
And, having Coleman back at his natural position is not the worst thing. So, yeah,
No.
they've been playing with some different line combinations. They got Jalen Clem
Hmm.
in for some snaps against TCU. They've been involving a few other guys, rotating some other guys in to try and keep people fresh and give teams some different looks on that O line. So, not the worst thing in the world, given how the pass blocking was at times this year. And a Big Bo, he's kind of been a disappointment since
Yeah.
coming over from Texas Tech. I mean, they basically handed him the left guard job, and he has really struggled at times. He's been kind of a turnstile out there. You see Sam Levitt
Mhm.
running for his life, but
Yep.
Big Bo's usually the reason why.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's in pass. Pass is
yeah,
his weak. He's a little better in run. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
a little better.
I'd like to see, yeah. And if this pushes him, hopefully, he can improve. If you get Coleman in there, and we'll see what Wade Helton looks like at center, if this is what they decide to do. But we'll kind of have to wait and see how that develops. But yeah, with no Sam Levitt, this game takes on some different wrinkles, and it's going to be interesting to watch because Jeff Sims, he is a good runner, and yeah, his passing, his throwing is not the best, but it's improved. So, but I think if you just get the ball out quick, have him run some quick stuff,
That's the
get him
key.
some confidence,
Don't
and
look.
hopefully they can open up some holes for the running backs and utilize Sims properly in the running game as well. Hopefully they'll come out with some positive things from this
Yeah.
game.
This just means
We'll
that
see.
your tight end game is going to be a lot more important. All your short passes are going
True.
to be a lot more important. Don't expect. I know fans love the big bomb and throwing deep to Eusebio and throwing deep to, you know, to Tyson or to Hamilton. Don't count on it. Not
Not in
not
this
with
game. Not
not
yeah.
well.
With Jeff
It's not just
Sims, no, you can't
and
count
and
on that.
and a wet ball, wet field. No. Uh,
Yeah, not the best thing. I know. It's about a 50% chance of rain on Saturday, so battling the elements as well. We'll see what ASU looks like coming out. But it's prediction time, and we both had ASU winning actually before the Sam Levitt news broke. But yeah, and our predictions kind of took on a different look as well, and Yeah, I got to go Utah in this one. With I just don't have enough faith in Jeff Sims as your starting quarterback. I'm going to take the Utes 27-17 in this game. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I picked Baylor. I hope I'm wrong again, but it's going to be very, very tough in this environment on the road with your backup quarterback. I just don't see ASU getting it done.
No, the wise guys in Vegas moved the line immediately. Well, they didn't move it. The bettors moved it from five and a
Yeah,
half to 7.5. Um, and you and
I
I
think
were
it was actually down to 5 before Levitt
five,
was out. Now it's up.
correct?
Now it's up to seven and a
Yeah, and
half. Yeah.
you and I were spot on. I hit it on the nose last week or 2 weeks ago. Uh,
Yes, you did.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, our predictions are usually fairly close, and yeah, you did have ASU win 27-24. I said 27-23. I was only 1 point off.
I know.
So,
I mean,
but
kudos
yeah,
to both of us. But
we've been pretty close on our predictions this year
yeah,
for the most part. I mean, I did have we both picked ASU over Mississippi State. I did pick Baylor on the road, um, which ultimately ASU was able to win. I just in this game with no Sam Levitt, and Utah, Utah hasn't really been tested other than Texas Tech this year, so I would take that with a grain of salt. But I still think they're good enough at home with the way at night with the elements to come away with a victory here.
so
So
I have a little system where I kind of line up every position and I kind of check out who's got the better athlete at each position. And I really had an edge going towards us overall, but that edge just stopped, and I had to flip it after losing
well,
Sam.
yeah, the quarterback kind of has that trickle down effect on every other position,
Hmm.
and yeah,
There's only one
yeah,
quarterback.
if it's a different one, yeah, but it's the most important position on the field still,
Hmm.
and if that guy's out, depending on how deep your quarterback room is, we all can't beat Texas Tech. This is going to be. I mean, they got and the third string's a former walk on Christian Hunt. So, that just tells you what the state of ASU's quarterback room is right now. Um, but we'll certainly be tuning in Saturday, 7:30 local time. ASU and the Utah Utes, their former Pac-12 rival, squaring off once more. And yeah, it should be a good game. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be on ESPN, so everybody tune in. Should be a fun game. So, for the RyKno Ryan Knowles and Big John Caldwell, say goodnight. Go Devils. Forks up. Pray for
Upset.
Sam Levitt.
Yeah. Let's go get it.